Hey, welcome to Fumble Fever. I'm Micah. That's Dylan. We have Week 9 predictions coming at you here in a second. If you haven't had a chance yet to, we have another video that we posted tonight. It was all about whether or not Clemson deserved that number 4 ranking. And since we've spent a lot of time speaking on Clemson, I think we might as well go ahead and get to Clemson's actual game this week. They're back in Death Valley. It's homecoming in Tiger Town. They're taking on BC, a foe throughout the years that have given them fits.
Mm-hmm.
What do you see this year?
I can see Boston College's running game getting started.
Mm-hmm.
If Clemson lets that wear them down throughout the quarters, I feel like Boston College could keep it close.
Yeah.
But they're not gonna keep it close.
Okay.
Clemson's probably gonna take over in the second quarter. It's gonna be close for a quarter.
Yeah. Close first quarter.
It'll be close first quarter.
Yeah, I hear you.
I see probably about the same score as last week.
Like a
about,
45-10.
Yeah, 45-10 yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go with Clemson as well. I think before the season started, picking this as homecoming, I would have said that's a little iffy, okay? Because it's a team that is really good at playing Clemson to the wire, and a team that is usually fairly decent and under the radar.
A.J. Dillon.
Yeah, with A.J. Dillon.
I forgot to mention him.
Oh, you had to mention him because he's got the same name as you.
Yep.
So,
except he spells it differently.
D.I.?
Yeah, he spells it the wrong way.
However, whatever helps you sleep at night, I guess.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they do have a sensational running back in A.J. Dillon, and he shouldn't be forgotten. The only problem is that this Boston College team is completely different than teams that I've seen in years past. For whatever reason this year, it's been fairly lackluster. I've seen them struggling pretty bad. Even seeing them lose to Kansas, who we had some high hopes for at the beginning of the year, but Kansas hasn't picked up to that expectation whatsoever. Disappointing time for Les Miles, for sure. But
I mean, it's better than it was.
Yeah.
So, back before him, they wouldn't even had a game against Boston College.
I guess if you put it that way, you could. If you want to think about it like that, Kansas is better than they were.
Way better.
Way to go. But Boston College is worse than they were, and like you, I don't really see this game being very close. I think Dabo's still hot over the past month and a half. I believe he's probably pretty hot. His team keeps dropping in the rankings.
Do you think Lawrence is going to throw any more interceptions?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah. Yeah, I absolutely do. I mean, I don't think you're going to go... It's very, very odd for you to go every single game without throwing at least one pick. Even some of the greatest... And by the way, just to compare stats for a second, if you looked at the first half of the season for Trevor Lawrence and you looked at the first half of the season for Deshaun Watson... when Deshaun Watson was in his sophomore year, they were very similar. In fact, in some categories, Trevor Lawrence was actually doing better than Deshaun Watson was. Nobody talked too much about Deshaun Watson having a terrible year. Oh, but they're all over Trevor Lawrence. And
he's supposed to be the prodigy, that's why.
Yeah. And then when you build a guy up that high, expectations are sky high like that.
Nobody's going to meet him.
He's not going to be able to live up to those expectations. And I don't know what it is that we actually thought that we could expect, okay? But at the end of the day, there's no doubt in my mind.
Because what he did on his freshman season is very hard to do.
It's hard to do, and that's regardless
he only
of
played 6 games, too.
Yeah, exactly, and regardless... Something like that, as a full-time starter anyways. And that's regardless of if you're a freshman or a senior or even at the higher level. It's hard to do what he's done. And so it's understandable, the talk, the hype, and all that, but you got to see the bigger picture when it comes to guys like him. He's going to be okay, and Clemson's going to be okay coming up for homecoming. I agree with you. It's going to be a pretty big win. They do have some other teams at the end of the year. I think now what becomes for Clemson will be South Carolina will actually be their toughest game
so far
coming up. And before South Carolina can get to that point, though, they're going to be taking on, good running game. They're going to be taking on Tennessee this week. It's at Tennessee, correct?
Yep.
they're only a 3-point favorite going into that game. A South Carolina team that's been
Up and
up and down this season. A big win against Georgia, a sad loss against Florida that they probably should have won. How are you feeling about this game?
Sorry.
You're fine. You're ready to jump in.
Yeah. A little bit about Florida. Referees missed 2 big calls.
Mm-hmm.
They missed the holding call that went 40 yards down the field, where the guy holding them like that.
Yeah.
And then they missed the pick play, or what I call is just pretty much pass interference or holding.
Yeah.
Against the defense. That's 2 touchdowns right there.
Mm-hmm.
But it is what it is.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, well, moving on.
Well, yeah, got to move on to the next game. Eventually, Will Muschamp will too.
Yeah.
I think you've seen his heated press conferences.
Yep.
He was very steamed.
And he said that one of the refs, instead of dropping the flag at his feet for the unsportsmanlike conduct, walked 40 yards down the field and dropped the flag right there.
Yeah.
But okay, back to Tennessee.
Okay.
Tennessee and South Carolina. I see. It's gonna be a very close game, like it always is.
Mm-hmm.
And South Carolina has beaten them 3 times in a row. And I almost said Urban Meyer.
Urban Meyer, there we go.
Will Muschamp, he's never lost to Tennessee, at Florida or South Carolina. And I don't see it changing much. It's gonna be a very close game, probably a field goal, just like the prediction says. Probably 27-24.
Yeah. So 3 in a row, make it 4, right?
Yeah, make it 4.
With the Tennessee, I've said this a lot this year, and despite their win total, is a team that has impressed me.
Mm-hmm.
Just the style to which they play and to which they fight.
They're actually one of the teams that I had the upset alert for.
Mm-hmm.
On against Mississippi State. 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and you. Kudos to you on that.
Mm-hmm.
But Tennessee, like I said, is a team that I've seen put out a fight. I seen them last week against Alabama really put out a fight, a game that they could have won, and a game that they would have won if they wouldn't have had to resort back to Gutiermo, who, again, his face mask pulled when he pulled that stunt, calling his own a play in that game. It ended up costing
which
them a
the
lot.
Coach did pull away real quick after he noticed he did that.
Right. You think there's been perhaps? Do you think the reaction to the coach doing that was fair or unfair?
Probably a little bit. Yeah, pretty unfair. I think.
You think it was unfair?
Yeah, it's just the heat of the moment. He didn't. I don't think he meant to do that.
Yeah, I think it's just this day and age. All eyes on you.
Mm-hmm.
You can't pull somebody's face mask anymore. It's that old type of just deal that you just can't do that anymore. But I do understand it because I would have been heated like that too. He might have really deserved a tongue lashing that he got for sure. But when it comes down to the actual game, I think South Carolina does seem to play Tennessee close most of the time. They certainly need this win.
Mm-hmm.
I think they'll come away with this win, and
is that Tennessee too?
Yeah, that doesn't faze me any at this point. And those fans have showed up. They'll be there, but
unlike Florida State, just have to mention.
Unlike Florida State, that is as an honorable mention for
or dishonorable.
However you want to look at it. Whatever your perspective is on it, that is a textbook example of how not to be a fan. It's Florida State. Sorry to any Noles watching this, but it's been awful out there, and I do get disappointed with seeing stuff like that. But Tennessee is gonna give them a fight to the very end for sure. I'm gonna give South Carolina. I think I'm actually gonna give Carolina by 7.
Okay.
Maybe a touchdown late that puts them ahead. And that is a game, as you mentioned earlier, by the way, against Florida that they should have won. The only 2 perspectives I have on that is I'm going to say number 1. I'll say, and this is how I always have been. If I was coaching and I had my team and the teams that I've coached in the past, I'd tell them, I say, well, if we came down to the position to where the reason we lost is because of a penalty, we shouldn't have been in that position anyways. We should have played a little bit better. So we can't blame everything on the refs. And the refs are not perfect. And they do make some blatantly terrible calls and even some calls that are just like, what are you doing? But they are human. Now, the one call in particular that led to a Florida touchdown that you called the pick.
The pick play.
The pick play.
Yep.
To explain that to our audience, to people that don't know what's going on, what actually happened on that play was a Florida receiver comes out and he's supposed to be running a route, but he ends up just straight up blocking
for the guy.
For the guy.
The guy curling out.
Right, and you just cannot do that, and that's what the flag should have been on. That's what a lot of people were upset about, and that's one of those things. It's like, as a ref that has eyes, you can't miss that. That's just very crucial, especially considering the fact that
it was
led to a touchdown.
it was 24-20 at that time. So
right.
It's very crucial.
It was very crucial, and that wasn't even the only call that week that made some controversy. There was another call in the Michigan-Penn State game that made a lot of controversy. This one I actually think was a good call. It was where Michigan's touchdown, not a touchdown, this one was a touchdown that got called back that could have changed the whole game for Michigan, where they were called for an illegal guy, a downfield, a lineman downfield. If you look back at the thing, he was, to me, he was a good 6 yards past down the field, and you can't be more than 3. So I personally think it was a good call at an unfortunate time. But
because I understand, because they shouldn't be able to block that far down the field anyways. So I understand the rule.
Yeah, I do, and I think a lot of people don't either A, understand that rule, or B, technically really know it exists, because it doesn't happen a lot, but it is something that's worth learning, so you understand better what's going on, so you're not sitting there flabbergasted screaming at the TV over nothing.
Yeah, because it really is unfair to the
it is very unfair when that happens, and sometimes the really unfair thing is the fact that the lineman doesn't really mean to. He doesn't really understand. He doesn't really.
Oh, I wouldn't really say he understands. He just.
Well, I'm trying to say, like,
on accident.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. He accidentally ends up being further downfield than what he actually realizes than he wants to be. So it's an unfortunate call, but it was the right one for Michigan. And they're going to be looking after that call to bounce back. And when they play Notre Dame.
I bet you there's going to be a bunch of penalties on those pick plays now.
Yeah, because everybody's going to be looking, and everybody's going to be looking at them. But speaking of Michigan, they are playing a big game against Notre Dame, one of the oldest rivalries in college football.
Always a good game.
Always a good game. What are you expecting?
I expect Michigan to lose another one.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But, yeah, I think Harbaugh is gone. On another note, I see Notre Dame handling Michigan pretty well.
Okay.
Probably for about 24-10 maybe.
Wow.
Low scoring game.
Wow. Okay. Does it surprise you for me to tell you that Michigan's the favorite?
Actually, it does. Yeah.
It does. Yeah. I figured it would. Michigan is the favorites here.
Are they at home?
They are at home, and so that might be part of the advantage going forward, because I think it's somewhere around a 3-point range is at least how they came out. You know how Vegas goes up and down, up and down. But that shocked me too, that Michigan was the favorite there. I think Notre Dame does win that game, but it's really not so much the fact that I believe in Notre Dame or I believe in Michigan, because honestly I really don't believe in either team right now. I think they're both a little bit overranked, and I hate the fact that Notre Dame's really not going to play hardly anybody. Michigan, probably the best game remaining on the schedule outside of possibly USC, Southern California, just in case anyone's don't want any confusion there, not South Carolina. But I'm going to go with Notre Dame, way closer than 24-10, like way closer, maybe a field goal late. But I agree with you. This could be the year that Harbaugh is finally out of there, because there's no way he beats Ohio State at the end of the year. There's just absolutely no way. We've got a couple games that I'm going to discuss, and we're going to go straight into it for you if I can, and we're going to stay with the Big Ten and two teams that had before the loss last week, would have been a big game. It's still big, it's not as big, Wisconsin and Ohio State.
I put in a bunch of thought in this game.
Okay, sure.
I was going to pick Wisconsin before the loss to Illinois.
Yeah.
And I'm still going to pick Wisconsin. Because I just think they were looking ahead to Ohio State. Jonathan Taylor. It's just gonna be too much. It's gonna be very close.
Yeah.
Way into the fourth quarter, probably the last drive of the game. Wisconsin's gonna drive down to probably about the 20 or 15 and kick a game-winning field goal.
Cool. Okay.
It's gonna.
Yeah.
This isn't my upset of the week, by the way, but
Yeah.
Wisconsin.
Okay. So I've been thinking a lot about this game as well, and I've been thinking about this game for the entire season, and I've been talking all year about how this is it. This is the game that decides the Big Ten.
Mm-hmm.
Now I've got a couple other teams that could throw some wrenches in there. Penn State on Ohio State's side, even Minnesota on Wisconsin's side. That's a team that people need to actually look out for. But I think, and I want to make it very clear to everyone listening right now, just because Wisconsin lost to Illinois last week, that does not mean that Ohio State will blow Wisconsin out of the water. It does not mean that whatsoever. So do not get that in your head.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a good game. And it's going to be one of the most interesting games that we've seen all year, because we've got on one hand offense for days type in Ohio State. 2 Heisman candidates on their team.
And then a defense
and
for
then
days.
a defense for days.
Uh-huh.
Wisconsin, normal, kind of pounding ground with another Heisman on their side.
And fun little fact, they had four teams that they shut out this year.
4?
Yeah.
Wow, that is... Do you even understand how hard that is to do?
Very.
Just to get one.
Yeah,
it's
even against like a lower team like Presbyterian or like Furman or something.
There's usually some type of points on the board, even if it comes
3
late
points.
against at least 3 points on the board, even if it's late against third string, fourth string defenses. So to get 4 shutouts, it says something about your defense and the pride that you take to be playing teams such as like South Florida, playing teams such as South Florida. Like they did earlier in the season, and beating them down to the ground and still getting those types of shutouts.
And by the way, South Florida ain't nowhere like they used to be when they had Flowers.
Oh gosh, no, they're definitely not a team to brag about beating, but a team to at least when any team, like you said, even if it's Furman or Presbyterian College, to get a goose egg on the board,
it's still very
it's a big time win. And to maybe analyze or give an analogy for something like that, if you're not as familiar with football, maybe you're more familiar with baseball, it's similar to a no-hitter. It's that level of, it's kind of that level of I'd say a no-hitter's a little bit harder.
I'd probably say a good bit harder, but
it's similar to...
Yeah, it's similar to it.
If you get what I'm saying, like, maybe the college football version of no-hitter, because that's one of the hardest things to do in college football. No-hitter is one of the hardest things to do in college or any level of baseball. Like you said, no-hitter a lot harder to do in general, but if you try to compare sports to sports, it's kind of the best way that I could sum it up. So,
and Verlander, by the way, this is baseball. Verlander, he has 3, I think, 3 or 4.
Quick shout out.
Yeah. I'm not really a fan of him, but I just thought of it.
It sounds like you're a fan of him.
No, I'm not.
The way you spit that out.
Yeah, it's just because I saw him like at beginning of the year.
I think it's just because you like defense.
Yeah, that's true.
I think you just really like defense, no matter what the sport is, and you're gonna talk about that any chance you get. But speaking of defense, that's why you're so high on Wisconsin. I still am gonna pick Ohio State to win this game. The way their polls have been doing, as I talked about in the last video, who knows where they'll end up. I don't know. I don't see Ohio State ever jumping LSU or Bama, but no telling how far Clemson's going to drop. There's a spoiler alert if you haven't watched our video. That's part of the stuff I'm going to talk about. But I'm going to go with Ohio State in a tight one, in a very tight one. We have one more game that I'm very excited to get to, because I'm glad that we have a chance to really talk about them. And that's the team that you said would end up being the best team in the non-Power 5. They are the best, highest ranked right now in the non-Power 5 at 16. We have SMU, and they're taking on Houston.
I got SMU, not LSU. I got them pretty big, probably probably 42-7 maybe.
Yeah,
they're gonna blow them out.
Yeah,
their offense is pretty crazy for a non-Power 5.
Yeah,
with Xavier Jones, he's a really good receiver, and Shane Bichelle.
All right.
He has pretty crazy numbers. I'm reading them off to you right now. Yeah, is 2,122 passing yards right now, 18 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions.
That is pretty crazy numbers, and it has taken them since 1986, thanks to the death penalty, to get back to being ranked and to get back to people finally being able to be excited for SMU football, and that makes me excited to. I really am honestly rooting for them to go all the way because I think that would be something magical to see such a turnaround. To see that would be great, and to be able to see them come out of what I've bragged about was one of the tougher and definitely the most competitive conference. I say it's the most competitive conference in the nation right now. As far as competitive goes, the teams that are fighting for those spots between SMU, between Temple,
6 or 7 teams.
Oh yeah, I mean, we got SMU, we got Temple, we got Memphis,
UCF.
we got UCF, we got Tulane. There's 5 right there that are, and Cincinnati. So there is your 6, hands down. So heck of a conference to come out of, and they deserve every praise that they've been getting. I'm going to take SMU big. I think we both knew, talking about this game, that it was going to be a big game, but it was just exciting to be able to see them and maybe try and put them closer to the national spotlight. A lot of people start noticing SMU and pony up all the way.
Yep.
There's one more quick game that I just want to give a quick shout out to because it's a game that, as SMU, that a lot of people don't really realize. I just wanted to say College Game Day is going to be in South Dakota for the very first time at South Dakota State. North Dakota State Bison, number 1 right now, taking on number 3 South Dakota State. That's going to be a heck of a game because a lot of people don't watch the FCS. They should watch the FCS. I enjoy watching the FCS because these are not little dinky schools. These are programs that produce some big guys.
South Dakota State or North Dakota State was talking about moving to the FBS for a while.
Yeah, I think they have talked about it, but honestly, I think it'd be best staying where they are because you want to talk about a dynasty. That's a true dynasty. They were winning 5, 6 national championships in a row, 5 in a row. So definitely gonna be a fun one to watch. Carson Wentz coming out of North Dakota State and
Eagles.
Yeah. Shout out Eagles, but there are a lot of big names that come out of the FCS that a lot of people don't even realize, and it's something that they should definitely watch moving forward. Unfortunately, that's all that we have time for this show today. Continue to follow us on Twitter as usual, Fumble Fever on YouTube as well. Subscribe, please hit the bell. And we thank you so much for your support. See you guys next week.
Thank you.